We have now big climate changing. Winter tourism is very important for Austria. What do you think when you are talking about Aha-Erlebnis, how a tourism country like Austria can be prepared for a new winter, perhaps without snow?
Winter in Austria without snow is like a Belgian cafe without beer. It is impossible, of course. Well, the best way to preserve that part of Austria is to make a lot of to negotiate with the authorities, global authorities, to even do better to prevent this harm. It's a tragedy that we have climate problems, not only for the health of the industry, but for your personal health. You know, they say you have to have a disaster before politicians will be able to have an alternative. And there are alternatives. It's not only politicians, of course, it's also you and me. We should have absolutely to change our consumer attitudes or behavior to prevent this kind of damage.
Do you think that young people have more awareness about this problem?
Even more than the baby boom generation. And this is good news in a way. What we see is that 20 and 30 something are more into what we call cathedral thinking. What is cathedral thinking? It's thinking on a long-term base. Like cathedrals were built in the 15th or in the 16th century. Well, they were built during 100, 150 years. But the decision makers at those days, they put a lot of money on the table asking the constructors to build a cathedral. But they knew at the time they were paying that it would last for 100, 150 years. They knew that they wouldn't be part, nor their children, nor their grandchildren, wouldn't be part of the lounge, the housewarming party of that cathedral. They were thinking on the long term. And what we see now is that the baby busters, the children of the baby boomers, are into cathedral thinking. And this is interesting, of course. If the youngsters, the millennials, will be hopefully be taken part of decision making for the rest of the world, I hope they will think like cathedral builders in the Middle Ages. So hopefully we will see within 10-20 years from the youngsters a better way of deciding for humankind.
When you're talking about 20-30 years, now people with 70 years are the young 50-agers.
Yeah.
How do you think will be travel in 2030, 2050?
Very interesting. Even you don't have to wait. I say always, what will be happening in 2030, let's say, will be already visible in 2020, and the rate of change is changing. But what is very important for your industry, for the travel industry, are the baby boomers in a way. Well, the baby boomers are all into full free time, free spendable private time in 2025, 2030. Throughout Europe and throughout the rest of the world, this amazing large population of baby boomers will have all the time of the world to spend a lot of money, which is typical for the baby boom generation. They have 2.5 times more money to spend. There are 20% more people now 50, 60 somethings than it was 10 years ago. And what will they do? They will love to travel. They will love to travel even more than their parents who were born before the Second World War. So be aware of this large group of baby boomers in 2025, 2030, 365 days a year, possible to be also seen in Austria, with or without snow. And hospitality is more than having snow on the mountaintops. Hospitality is the warmth, the inclusion and the grace. And this, I think, is typical for Austria.
Thank you very much.
With all kinds of pleasure.